rubbed on the tripod, a cat, right? It's always cats. Uh, but anyway, this goes out, well, to anybody that's suicidal, you know, and whether it's family and friends. If a person says they're suicidal and they mention it numerous times, eventually they're going to do it. They're mentioning that because they, well, see, usually I don't mention it. Each time I've been suicidal, I never told anybody. I just did it. One time I let somebody know that I was, but they had no way to reach me, so I wasn't too concerned, you know, about getting saved. So anyway, give me a thumbs up if you want. If you don't, that's fine. I just encourage people to get other people to watch these videos on depression and suicide. Bring it more to the surface. You know, there's no stigma to it, but society says there is. If you need mental help, there's something wrong with you. Yeah, that's why you need mental help. So going to mental health, you know, and a lot of insurances only will cover a certain amount of visits. A lot of these doctors will only see you for like 15 minutes, maybe 30 if you're lucky. You can't be helped with 15-minute increments or 30-minute increments. I go to the VA and it's an hour each visit. When they quit seeing us in person, I went downhill. I'll be honest, I went downhill. Now I'm being seen weekly again, and I get the feeling that she doesn't really want me there every week. Well, it doesn't matter what they want. It's what you want. You need the help. If you don't like the therapist, social worker, that you're seeing, ask for somebody else. I had to switch a couple times. There's some of them where, believe it or not, you are not allowed to swear. And it's like, that's bullshit. If you're going to be in the field of mental health, where you're going to be talking to veterans and civilians, but you're going to be talking to veterans, you need to be able to say, yes, you want to swear, you can swear. And I actually had one of the quack doctors in Flint say, well, if you swear, we won't see you anymore. Well, I don't care whether you like swearing or not, lady. It's like, if I'm going to swear, I'm going to swear. Part of therapy is you're going to hear a lot of things that you probably don't want to hear. And you're going to have this stuff described from veterans that you don't want described. Especially the ones that were POWs that were tortured. Some of the stuff that was done to our veterans from the enemy, including the Japanese, during World War II was horrible. Most Americans don't know about any of that. Most Americans don't know the tortures in Vietnam, South Korea, you know, World War II, Japanese, more so. Because none of that stuff is publicized. I don't know why, but anyway, that's all kind of hidden. So anyway, sorry, I ran it out a little bit too long. But I'll get this one posted, and then I'll make another one, and, you know, I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna make a series of it, and I'm hoping that me discussing this on YouTube, other people will watch it, and maybe it'll help somebody. If it helps this one person, that's great. So thank you. This video is more about, the series is depression and suicide. This one here is more about suicide. I got screwed over in the military. When I got out of the military, my first attempt of suicide was 6 months after I got out of the military. There's been a few over the years. Dealing with suicide tendencies, it comes from being in the military, getting screwed over. You start with the depression, then the anger builds up also because I got screwed over for stupid things. I couldn't re-enlist. Got an Article 15, but yet, that was after they already told me I couldn't re-enlist, but I got an Article 15 for something that wasn't mine. I even had somebody say that that wasn't mine, that it was theirs, so I shouldn't have got anything. But I still got an honorable discharge. Figure that out, right? When you get an Article 15, you don't get an honorable discharge. Most veterans out there that have gotten kicked out Well, they don't go, if you got kicked out of the military, then you can't go to the VA. They won't let you. It has to be honorable discharge or medical. Uh, the suicide thing I have had a lot of problems with because of the depression and anger issues. And there's different things they want you to do to fight it, I guess. A lot of stuff doesn't work. What works for me might not work for him, or for him. What works for him might not work for me. I've tried a lot of the stuff they say to do, you know, sit in a quiet room, think about something cheerful, listen to music. I used to love listening to music when I was in the military overseas. I don't enjoy that. Spent a lot of money on a audio system when I was overseas. Haven't really used it hardly at all, really, since I've been out of the military. So I really don't enjoy music like I used to. A lot of times watching TV, watching movies, can't sleep at night. Well, part of that was sleep apnea, but I can't sleep a lot of times at night. Like right now, I've been up all night. I went to bed for like 3 or 4 hours, but I couldn't get to sleep, so I got up and I figured, okay, well, I'll just do a quick tape. And when Michael died, the suicide thing, man, it was like right there, you know. Because losing Michael was very difficult on me. I mean, I knew it was coming. You know, he had MS, then he ended up overseas. He had a fractured femur, which was a whole nother thing. They finally fixed it. Then when I was at Joint Base Andrews on the East Coast taking care of him, I was there for 20 months helping take care of him. He broke his pelvic. He was just sitting there, and he had a bad muscle spasm, and it actually broke his pelvic, believe it or not. I took him to the ER on base. Well, it's emergent immigrant, or anyway, some weird name for it. So they said, oh, no, he's fine. Okay. So then the next day, Michael was in such excruciating pain, and he really couldn't stand up. So I called the emergency on base. They came out, picked him up, and took an x-ray. No, there's nothing wrong. 3 visits. So then I had him come out the next day, but I had the first shirt was there. Couple of, I'm trying to remember what the other sergeant, she was a master sergeant. She was there, and I told them what was going on, so they took him back and to the emergent care. And while he was there, security forces showed up and trashed the house looking for drugs, marijuana. Well, the EMS thought she might have seen marijuana. One, we would hide it if there was marijuana in the house so nobody would see it when you guys show up. I mean, who's going to leave marijuana, right? Who's going to leave pot sitting out when you're in the military? Yeah. But that's a whole other story, how they tried to kick him out for pot. And but anyway, they trashed the house on 3 different occasions, and they never found any pot, of course. And we didn't have any. We get that point across right now. There were no drugs. I mean, my medications and his medications, and the amount of medications that he was on was just nuts. He was on medications for the MS. He was on medications for seizures. He was on medication for the muscle spasms. He was on medications for just a multitude of things. He had so much wrong with him. Well, anyway, when, um, and that was hard for me to be there for 20 months. I got, that was very difficult. I gave everything up to go there. I did come back to Michigan now and then because I had to get away, and so I'd fly back. Got a lot of back and forth flying, and drove a few times, and that was rough. But flying hour and a half, take off in Baltimore, boom, you land in Flint, hour and a half later. So that was pretty sweet. Spent a lot of money though. So anyway, this is see, I want to do a thing on how people deal with death also. So I'm trying to think of how to do this where I'm not mixing all these things together, because it's depression, dealing with death, and suicide. This one here is for the suicide. So anyway, when he died, I was pretty, I was in shit shape. I can tell you that right now. It's like I knew it was coming. So I had thought, like when my grandfather died, didn't bother me. When my grandmother died, that bothered me more than I thought it would, because I was never close to my grandma. But when I was waiting up north at Wordsmith to out process, I stayed at my dad's place up there, and so I spent a lot of time with my grandma because she lived down the street. Her, my grandfather, but he'd already died. So I spent a lot of time talking to her and got pretty close. So it's like I didn't cry and get too upset, but it bothered me, and it still does. So I didn't, so okay, death, our family's always been like, hey, you die, it's like, you don't pass away, they don't go on or pass on, or they're gone, it's like you're dead, and that's how we look at it, you're dead, and that's it, they're, they passed on, they're in a better place now. How can you say they're in a better place? Yes, if they're suffering, they're not suffering anymore that you know of. But anyway, so that bothered me some. And then my brother Dave died. And I was like, and I always thought he would die of liver failure because he's a heavy drinker, smoked since he was a kid, drank since he was a kid. Well, see, that's getting on the death side of it. I just want to deal with the suicide. Anyway, when Michael died, at first, okay, the point I was making there is I didn't really think that him dying would really affect me that much, because you figure, Steve, my stepdad, Dave, my mom, But Michael dying, I was fucked up for a while. So I became extremely suicidal. The Flint mental health was useless. It took a letter to the White House, to President Trump. The letter was responded to. People were fired. People were chewed out. But in a way, I became extremely suicidal. So then I switched up to Saginaw. The head girl there, fantastic. I don't want to say names. I know you could probably say first names is okay, but not last names. I talked to the mental health there, the guy I let Dave know, that Michael had died. And so he had called me the following Monday and talked to me for quite a while, and he goes, you're in bad shape. He says, you need to be seen, now. And I'm like, well, I told him about Flint. They actually told me, the girl there I was seeing told me, now keep in mind, I'm a veteran. Veteran suicide rates are high. She told me, well, if you kill yourself, you'll just become another statistic. factual, yes, that is true, but you don't say something like that to somebody who's suicidal, because you're saying, well, we really don't give a shit. So if you kill yourself, who cares? That's what that translates into. Well, if you kill yourself, you're just going to become another number. You're going to become another statistic. Oh, yeah. So what the hell? I might as well. And that's the kind of shit you deal with the VA. That's going to be a whole nother series. I'm trying to keep this as short as possible. So the point is I was in really bad shape. I mean, I was suicidal like you wouldn't freaking believe. I was crying my ass off. But men don't cry. Yeah, your kid dies that you're close to. Yeah, you're not gonna cry. Okay. You know, you expect, you know, your parents to die, your grandparents, whatever. But when your own kid dies, that's a whole nother scenario. So I was, my shadow. So I was extremely suicidal. So I was being seen a couple times a week, and then, you know, once a week. And for a year, I didn't do anything. I was so depressed, so suicidal. It's like I didn't want to be here, and in a way, it was very difficult. You put Michael dying on top of all the crap from when I was in the military, already being suicidal. I did have a setback. I did try.